guns or flesh. My hustle had always been information. Some people would call me a snitch, but that isn't true. I would never sell information to the cops. Even I have standards. With the right information, you could make money from the local gang boss, bribe cops, and even occasionally bend the Frontier Corps to your will. Corps life was full of rumors. 1,000,000 miles away from Terra, we were isolated from any breaking news that might be going on in the universe around us. The only way to glean information was to catch it secondhand at the spaceport as recruits spread good or bad news from wherever they had come from, or find an officer who was a little too loose with their lips after a couple of drinks. If you're me, you find one of the local members of Imperial royalty who has a thing for skinny tan girls from the third quarter. You tell them that their little secret is safe with you, and you would never do anything to harm their reputation. I was much better at that kind of thing back before the Corps shaved off my hair and rations sapped away what figure I had. Thankfully, pickings happened to be slim here, and people weren't too picky. It wasn't like I was going to bang some gross old noble with the body composition of mashed potatoes. That is a beginner's mistake. You make them think they are going to get laid. Men were talkative around women. They thought it impressed us or something. Some low-level noble brags about the dirt he has on someone else to me, thinking this will make me swoon over their influence and power. Then I slip something in their drink once I get what I need from them. They wake up confused, unsure of what happened, and I confront them with what they told me. Then blackmail them until I get their official orders, complete with the Imperial seal that just so happens to give the 3rd Platoon a 4-day weekend the same weekend of the going-away party. I trudged across the muddy morass of base camp until I reached the chow hall. Like everything else in the camp, it had started as a tent. After years in the planet's harsh environment, the original Corps-issued tent had been wilted and eaten away. It had been replaced by tarps, bits of broken wooden pallets, and anything else the long-suffering cooks could get their hands on. Parked outside the chow hall was a small trailer mounted onto a metal tank painted in standard-issue Corps green. This terrible little invention was what we called a water buffalo. Generally speaking, whenever the Corps sent its troopers, there was nothing resembling water that humans could stomach. The science involved in making the water of a given planet drinkable was a secret between the throne and the Ministry of Terraformation. In the meantime, water would be delivered to us from the various planets and stations of the Empire. It would be rationed out and issued to the Corps via the water buffaloes as needed. The water could only be used for drinking and always had a slightly metallic tang. We all assumed at some point it would kill us or give us some unspeakable, monstrous form of cancer. But after nearly a decade of living on it, I was still alive. I dumped the stagnant wine out of my canteen next to the buffalo, placed it under one of the taps, and refilled it. I chugged the water as fast as it filled the canteen. The water had the familiar metal tinge mixed with a slight aftertaste of treatment chemicals, like a fine, diluted bleach. The water buffalo must have just been topped off, as the temperature of its contents hadn't yet risen to the normal of just below boiling it would become after a few hours. I could feel it cutting through my insides like a power washer spraying grime off of a wall. I was filling my canteen for a second round when I saw someone I hated seeing. One of the Duke's assistants. I could always tell it was one of them from a mile away. Being around the nobility all day meant they were forced to wear spotlessly clean uniforms, resplendent with medals, cords, other pointless baubles that only got in your way if you were to do any real soldiering. Unlike the rest of us, they weren't in the Corps. Instead, being royalty meant that the Duke was given personal assistance from the Imperial Army. I was familiar with most of the regular army types that had the bad luck of ending up on this planet. They had a habit of making themselves known in one way or another, but not this guy. He marched forward like he had a stick shoved up his ass, and the